All right.
Okay.
All
Why
right,
can't
folks,
you
I'm coming
just
to the
throw
other
it
side
from
of the
over there?
table.
Why can't you just do it from over there? You're rolling on the camera.
I want to feel included.
He wants to inclusion.
Oh my God!
All right, let's do it. Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson alongside Jeff Hart and our producer, Seth Chapman, who's behind that camera, but in front of that camera. Yes. So welcome to the show, folks, as we, we're going into round 2 of the high school football playoffs, Jeff, and round 1 was somewhat exciting.
It was. We predicted 7 teams. We got 7.
Got
Just
7?
wasn't exactly the 7 we thought.
Right.
But there was some really there was some history made.
Mm-hmm.
Union,
Yep.
Dawson County getting a win over a ranked team or
Right.
something like that. Ophir and their and some good games.
Mm-hmm.
Some good games.
Some very good games. Of course, if you look back into everyone that won, Buford, Dawson, Jefferson, North Hall, Rabun, Union, and Commerce all advancing into the second round. Cartersville beating Flowery Branch in a Class 4A matchup. That was one that was pretty good.
We called it.
Yeah.
I thought Flowery Branch had a chance to win that game,
Mm-hmm.
and other than a turnover, it was a 7-6 game, and Flowery Branch probably was driving in the fourth quarter with a chance to take the lead, kick a field goal, something like that. That's the best team to lose in the first round in the state, probably any classification.
I know it was unfortunate those two teams had to
Yes.
face each other in the first round, and Coach Hall said last week, he even said that, talking to Cartersville's head coach, talking about those two regions actually having to face off
Right.
with each other because you have Region 7 4A, and then, of course, Region, what is that, 5 4A, and very good teams all in that region. Cartersville, number 1 team in Class 4A, and last year's runner-up. So, it's unfortunate that's the way that things mix up in the first round.
Well, it is. I mean, as they say, you got to play them sometime.
Right.
So whether you get them first or you get them last, I mean, if that had been a state championship game, that would have been, an instant classic.
It would be.
It's unfortunate. It's going to be a first-round game that people are just like, oh, okay, so they beat Flowery Branch.
Yeah.
Ben Hall has really got a program working over there. It's really unfortunate that they haven't been able to advance
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 years. They've had 2 really good teams. And I know we're going to talk reclassification, so they got to be loving it because they're it's
New region.
Yeah, new region. There were some good teams. Ran into Robbie Haynes this week. His son's quarterback at White County. I mean, that might be the best 5-5 team in North Georgia.
No doubt.
And they didn't make the playoffs because of 7-4-8. So, a great effort by Flowery Branch.
So, tip of the hat this week to Union County, getting their first ever playoff win over South Atlanta, 19-15. And it was a drought finally broken in Blairsville.
62 years. Hey, that's even older than I am, and you say I'm old
Just
as
a
dirt.
bit older than you.
You say I'm older than dirt. Moses was a distant acquaintance. Okay,
I hear you. But you were at that game.
I thought
so you had
Lincoln was a good dude.
Okay.
I will tell you.
We don't need a history lesson.
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if you were at the game, Jeff, as we veer back onto the road here.
Well, I'm just saying, you can always call me old. So I was just saying it's
Right.
been a long time. In fact, first time ever for Union. It was a great game. People expected offense. Union came in ranked, I think they were like 3rd in offense.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at Union, I tell you what's lost is how well they have played defense this year. It was, they did give up the 57, I believe, against Putnam. But I talked to Coach Allison, and he said that there were some defensive adjustments they did not make in that game. He put it all on him. They gave up 49 to Rabun, but it was 21-0 in the fourth quarter. So it's not like Rabun was running up and down the field all game. That was a close game. They had some turnovers late that helped kind of, stretch that out a little bit. I figured they would play good defense, and they played really good defense. South Atlanta was bigger on the line. They had a big running back. They had a good quarterback. What I was impressed about with Union County was the fact of how the D-line, their front 7 really played well.
Mm-hmm.
They held that team down. They gave up a 74-yard pass play or something like that, and one drive in the third quarter, and that was it. They shut them down. They blocked a punt. They're a team. People are going to look at the offensive numbers. They're going to look at the defensive numbers. They're going to overlook them. And I'm telling you, Union can play some defense this year, and that's the reason they got this win this year.
Another history maker, Dawson County over Westminster, beating a higher seed there and getting their first win in 43 years
against a
ranked opponent.
You figured you luck
insane.
into one. You figured you would luck into one over the years. So that was interesting.
Very interesting.
But it's not just that they won the game, Bo.
They dominated the
game.
They
dominated that game. We talked about that. Westminster is one of those teams. Nobody wants to play them because they play in a tough region. They're going at 5-5, but they're 5. If they played in the other region, they'd probably be 8-2.
Right.
9-1. Nobody wants to play them. Look at Jefferson last year. They came into Jefferson and knocked them off. So that was a game we kind of can they win this game? Not only did they win that game, they went on the road. And like you said, they dominated that game. They opened some eyes in Class 3A with that win.
All right, well, Jeff, let's move on. Later in the show, we'll talk about the top games this week that we will look at. Also, we'll name the WilHart Team of the Week as well. I know you're looking forward to that, everyone. Always looking forward. So, Rick,
by the way,
yes,
my wife.
Oh, gosh.
She looked at the show last week.
It's still wrong.
Just to let you know.
The scissors were wrong.
No.
Yep.
She totally agreed that it doesn't matter how you throw this. No, She said it does not matter.
Scissors
and she
are
told
scissors
me to tell
are
you,
scissors,
no.
Bo.
So that's exactly right.
I Googled
you
it. It said
wrong.
it's against the rules.
Well, Google is fake news.
I think the moment of
learn...
silence between all of us means that we don't believe that you Googled that, Bo.
No, I don't believe that for a second.
Google it. No,
and so, when my wife speaks, I know it's correct.
No, sure.
She said you were wrong.
Okay.
So you can just
it's
go with
funny
that.
you say that on video. That's not what you say in the sports office.
No, she said you were wrong.
No. You said your wife speaks.
Oh, she speaks
correct.
often, and she's always
I'm
right.
officially clocking out on this one, guys.
Let me just say, I have never been right when I'm talking to my wife.
There you go. Let's move on to reclassification. I know we talked a bit about it last week, but this has kind of been an ongoing process. So the latest rounds of the Georgia High School Association region appeals, which allowed teams to do a lateral move in a region, are not. But one team actually got the chance to move up a classification, which is going to change the landscape a little bit over in Region 8, 6A, and in Region, 5, 7A. So Denmark winning the appeal to move up into the Forsyth County region, plus Gainesville.
That's correct. Now,
very interesting move here.
Did they move up? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they moved up to be with their fellow Forsyth County schools, and not because they didn't want to play Buford.
I find it interesting that Denmark got the chance to move up, since that was last week's appeal, was supposed to be, you move up classifications.
That's what I'm saying. Was it more to be in Forsyth or get away from Buford? And I'm going to say it because, a lot of people think that they're running scared.
Perhaps they are.
But I don't, I think, honestly, I think that's good. I think that they're a better fit there, to be honest with you. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to be there anyway. Might as well go ahead and start playing.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting region. I mean, honestly, you look at that right now, that's a toss-up region.
Yeah, it is.
As coming into next year.
It'll be an interesting region when you look at that. The other region in our area that kind of just, got blown up in this appeal process, Region 8-2A, now has 5 teams.
Just 5.
Just 5. Fannin County wanted to move out over into 7-2A to play Chattooga, Coosa, Dade, Gordon Central, Model, Pepperell. I don't know what they were running from out of Region 8-2A, but Oglethorpe also moved out, of course.
Rabun?
Putnam County moved out in the whole region process. But now you have Region 8-2A with Banks, Elbert, Rabun, Riverside Military, and Union County. So this region now all of a sudden goes from 7 to 8 teams down to 5 teams. Interesting.
And it's a tight-knit group, kind of, really.
It is.
When you look at that. So, Elbert's kind of a haul, but the rest of them are all right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to, So you're going to have, and that's going to give them opportunities to continue some rivalries.
Oh, they'll have to make what, 6?
Yeah,
Does that make 6
and now
non-region?
that kind of will be a challenge.
Yeah, that will be a challenge.
That's going to be tough to fill out 6 non-region games. But I to be honest with you, I like it that there's no Putnam and there's no Monticello, and
it makes it
because those were some god awful. I mean, if you're Union, that's a god awful road trip to have to go to Monticello.
Oh, no doubt.
That's halfway across the state.
That's not fun. So there were some other things that happened in the process of the region appeals. A lot of the other private schools, some of them wanted to move up. Hebron Christian wanted to move over into Lakeview's region. That was denied, in the appeal process. I think Wesleyan wanted to move over as well, or maybe they wanted to move up to 2A, and that was denied. So they'll stay in 5A private. Interesting that they wanted to try to get out of those regions.
Lakeview dodged a bullet on that one.
Lakeview did dodge a bullet. Lakeview stays in Region 6A private. They do have, a few teams that don't play football in that region. The Weber School, Mount Bethel Christian, and Brandon Hall do not play in that region or play football in that region. So, that will be interesting for Lakeview. We talked a little about that last week, so nothing major changed there. In Region 8A public, nothing changed there. In Region 7, 3A, no changes there. That one is going to end up being probably one of the I'm looking forward to Region 7, 3A and Region 8, 4A as far as what the matchups are going to be.
Yeah, 7, 3A is going to be great. That's going to be a great region.
So those are going to be fantastic. But that's about all the changes in the classifications. Any surprises to you, Jeff?
If I'm surprised, I think it's because when you look at how many, you got 56 or 57 teams in each classification,
right.
It looked like they were trying to set it up for, 8 7-team regions, and then they allow a 5-team region in 8AA.
Right.
That was kind of surprising. I realized that there's some logistic problems with some of those middle Georgia programs and schools.
Sometimes you just can't help it, though.
You can't help it. But, they've refrained from doing that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So what made it? Why this year? Why this time? So that that's kind of that I thought that was the biggest thing that jumped out at me of the I guess this is the final round of changes.
Yes,
I guess
it should be.
Should be. So that was the only real thing, and honestly, I thought they'd give Hebron what they wanted.
Yeah, well, they didn't. They kept the private schools at bay, in their appeal process. So, if we move on into this week's games, Union County going on the road against a very good Metter team. And, of course, Seth and I had a chance to go up this week and talk to Coach Allison, as part of our Gaining the Edge segment. And then, of course, our Game of the Week segment, because Union will travel down to Metter to face a very, very stout wing T offense from Metter. It's going to be interesting. They have 3 running backs down there that run the ball well. And, these guys last week, 385 yards, total offense, every bit of it on the ground attack.
Well, Metter does not have – they're the 2 similar programs. They don't have a big playoff history.
Right.
They're new territory for them. They are playing at home. Whether the ground-oriented attack works for them, South Atlanta was a running team last week. They didn't make a lot of hay. They only had – on the ground, they had about 2 big plays. Their 74-yard play was a pass play where they had been setting it up with the run. Union blitz. They threw over the top. Guy was wide open for an easy touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I think this could play to Union. I do, because Union's got offense that we know they can score. And they kind of shot themselves in the foot with some penalties at inopportune times last week. Of course, they got a career-best field goal from Mason McCombs, like a 47-yard field goal. The crowd said, no way can he hit it, and he did.
Well, this week they have a challenge with stopping a rushing attack from Metter. We had a chance to sit down with Coach Allison up in Blairsville earlier this week, and he talked a little bit about stopping that Metter offense.
Well, I think, one, we're going to have to be able to pass protect and then be able to throw and catch the way we've been doing and these kids have been doing it for a long time. And take care of the football, obviously, is a couple things. When we're able to throw the football and get them loosened up a little bit, then we'll be able to get Jonah the football, and hopefully he'll be able to run it. And then defensively, we got to stay sound in our gaps and really attack the running back and make sure that we're taking care of our responsibilities.
So, of course, Coach Allison getting his troops ready to go for some more history-making if they can get a win against Metter. And, of course, talking there about stopping Metter's rushing attack and what they, will need to do offensively against. Coach Allison, just talking with him, talking about, if you look at their offense, they have a balanced attack, but they can be explosive. And so he was talking a little bit about, that they need to get their passing game going.
Well, they do. They missed some plays. They had some opportunities that they didn't make. They made some plays. They got Sawyer Drake. They got Kyle Morlock, who's working his way back in from being out most of the season. Both are big, tall. They can catch the ball. All you got to do is throw it up. And Pearson Allison can do that. Jonah Daniel is kind of the he's the what I call the key. I think he's the key to this because he's got some quicks on him. He can go. He's smaller, so he can get inside behind their offensive line and get some yards. He's banged up. He had an injury that he kind of came in and out, but he still managed to get quite a few yards. He had some big plays. They kind of they'll throw some screens. They'll do some slants. They'll throw deep.
Well, that's going to be...
And they can hit some runs because of that. Jonah Daniel is going to be the key to that.
So we'll see what happens. We'll check out the Twitter page for that game as we'll have some updates throughout the night on our Twitter page and also on Access after the game. All right, Jeff, so some more games that are coming up this week. Beaufort at Ware County. They're going to take the long trip down to Ware County. It's about a 5.5-hour drive down to Waycross. So Beaufort, that's kind of the
ticket. Break land speed record.
Yeah, that's kind of the ticket they get for losing in the last week of the regular season. And, of course, that will be a task for them. North Hall at Crisp County. They will travel down there to Cordele in that contest. Dawson will travel down to Savannah as they will take on Jenkins. Commerce at Lincoln County and Appleton County at Jefferson. All of these are going to be what we feel like have the potential to be really, really good games on the schedule this week. But one game in particular that has some history with it, Jeff, you had a chance to talk to Commerce coach Michael Brown, who's playing Lincoln County, and those two teams actually have history with each other.
They've got some great history. They played 17 times. This is what was interesting. Michael Brown's been a part of 14 of them.
Wow.
Played in one game. He's been a coach for the other 13. They haven't played each other in a while. Next year, what's interesting, it's just like a prelude because next year they're going to be in the same region. And you're talking about two of the preeminent power programs in Class A over the last, 25 years. Yeah. And probably longer than that for Lincoln because they had Garrison Hurst going back and went to like the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. So Lincoln's one of those teams that, in Commerce, it's going to be a great, great ball game. What was interesting was talking to Coach Brown about some of his moments that he thought were as far as the history of the region of the series.
That first win was probably the most dramatic of all of those. We drove down late in the game and attempted a field goal, and they actually blocked it and roughed the kicker. And so we got a chance to kick it again, and we're able to make it to beat them for the first time with no time remaining on the clock. So I can remember watching that kick and as it sailed through, just losing myself. And I had on headphones, and I don't know what I did with them. I think I threw them or something, and finally calmed down after about 5 minutes. And I said, man, I better find them headphones. Coach Savage will jump my tail. But, we just had some real good games, some knockdown dragouts with them over the years. And I expect this one to be the same. They've got actually two good backs sitting back. They run a single wing, so they're predominantly run, and they're gonna try to mass bodies at the point of attack and beat you up and control the clock in a lot of ways that we do. And but it does. And the game of football is blocking, tackling, and running. I've said that many times, and it'll come down to those individual battles that take place on the offensive and defensive lines. So it'll be a physical football game, and it'll be a short football game. Every possession will matter. Fumbles and penalties and things like that end drives will certainly play into it as well.
Yeah, I always love talking to Coach Brown. He's kind of a no-nonsense kind of guy. He just tells it like it is. That was a great story he was telling us about with Coach Savage. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. But he's right. You got two teams that like to run the ball. You gotta make your blocks, stay on your blocks. You got to make tackles when you're on defense. You can't let them break into into the second level and into the secondary, because both teams will be able to pop big runs if you get past that first line. So, block. It's really just old school football.
No doubt. It's single A football.
Exactly, man, and that's what I love. And I'm gonna tell you, going down to Lincoln, you've been there.
Oh yeah,
I've been there. One of the great places in Georgia to watch a game. That is a nutty place. It doesn't seem like much until the game starts.
Called a game from the stands back in 1999.
I had to walk like a mile.
Yeah.
I couldn't. There was no parking the last time I went.
Should be
a
interesting,
mile.
though. I look forward to seeing the scores come in from that game, Commerce at Lincoln County, coming up on Friday. All right, now to the part of the show where Seth Chapman, our video, multimedia, whatever you want to call him, videographer, photographer,
guru extraordinaire,
all of the above, producer, editor. Seth.
He is our Andy Warhol.
Okay, whatever. Cool. We'll take that.
I can dig it.
So Seth put together last week, and if you noticed on our front page story that we had that, basically it was the cap of all the games, he put together all the scoring highlights from the games that we had video on. And so now we're going to throw it to Seth and let Seth do his thing with his picks.
Yeah, we had some cool stuff this week. I definitely remember sitting in the editing room and grabbing some plays that are just kind of really stuck out to me. Just, hey, that was pretty cool. So we'll see what we've got this week in this week's edition of Seth's Picks.
Seth, always, you do a great job, man.
Thank you.
Man, we appreciate those and look forward to what we'll have this week from Seth's Picks and on the website of our video highlights that we have each week from our games that we send our video people out to.
I think Seth has times. I think he could run down to Ware County.
Run down, sure.
Look, you got about 4 games of all these Hall County teams that are all in that South Georgia. I think you got time you can go hit
just
each
hop,
quarter,
skip, and a jump.
Hit a quarter of each one and just head right back up 75.
Well, then you're going to have to go back down there and pick up the half of my brain that I leave down there while driving back up here.
Yeah. Which half, left or right?
I don't know. No way to predict. There's no way to
Whichever
predict.
falls out first.
Exactly. Whichever half comes out first.
All right, we're moving to the favorite part of the show that everyone listens to the entire show for, and they do not fast forward to it. The WilHart Team of the Week announcement. It's huge. Huge, Jeff.
Huge.
people have gotten to love this part of the show.
My wife
At least-
enjoyed it last week.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll move on from that.
I'm still looking forward to the day that we all three pick different teams and we have to do a rock paper scissors tournament.
Ooh, would that be
Whoa.
like a best of 3 or what?
It'll best of 3 per player.
I should have done that last week because I would have won the best of 3. I mean,
Maybe.
who picks
We
scissors?
never know. It beat you.
You're just like the Democrats. You just can't accept defeat, can you?
Now
All right, let's shift back to football and
Why
not
don't we bring
politics.
politics into the show,
Well,
Jeff?
I'm just saying.
Too
You
much
just
rush,
can't-
Jeff.
You just
Too
can't-
much Limbaugh.
You can't just can't. You lost. Just accept it
Cut
and move
his
on.
mic.
Move on.
We hate politics and sports, Jeff. Come on now.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So, WilHart Team of the Week nominees. Starting at the top of the list, Union County getting the first playoff win. Dawson County stunning Westminster for their first win over a ranked opponent in like 43 years. And North Hall holding off Lovett to advance to the second round of the playoffs. And, Jeff, I let you go first.
I'm probably going to shock you with this.
Nah.
One. You don't think so?
Okay.
If I read the stat right, North Hall running back had not carried the ball all year, and then ran for like 187 yards. Clark Howell had not had a single carry all year, and then ran for almost
He's been
200
injured.
yards. And they knocked off Lovett. I think that was a game we weren't sure they could win with some of the injuries they had. I'm going with North Hall.
Ooh.
I know I was at the Union County game, and I love it when teams
Do I
make
feel
history.
a battle coming?
Yeah, it's going to be a battle because I've got to go with Dawson. I'm going to pick Dawson for stunning Westminster because all the talk was Westminster. You don't want to play them in the first round of the playoffs.
I agree. That's
And
a good
all
choice.
of the talk that I get from Westminster, including from some Westminster people, they cannot believe the physical play of Dawson on defense and the entire night that just basically slapped them in the
Look,
forehead.
I thought that was a great effort. It was a hard one for me to pick, but then I read a stat where Clark Howell had not had single carry all season, ran for 187 yards, and without him, they don't win the game.
But, Coach Bishop talked about getting him back all year, and it paid off getting him back.
Well, that's why I went with that.
In the lineup. So, you're going with North Hall. I'm going with Dawson. So, we're going to throw it over to Seth Chapman, to make the tiebreaker. Will he do so?
There is so much joy in my heart right now
Oh, gosh.
because I mentioned the 3-way tie,
Yeah.
and I promise this is not
Oh,
just
you're
because
going
I
with
wanted to
Union.
see this happen. I made up my mind when we went to Union, and we started talking with
Yeah.
the kids about
Yep.
how much it impacted their
Mhm.
community, how much their community had just gotten behind them, and how much it meant to these guys. I made up my mind then that I'm going with Union in their first playoff berth.
Oh, look at this, folks. This was not prearranged. We promise. We don't even talk about
I have to say-
who we vote for.
Initially, this week, I was going to go with Union as my WilHart Team of the Week. But when I read the stat on North Hall, I felt like I wanted to change even though the history was made. So, I'm like Bo. This was not set up.
We're gonna have to throw it to a 3-way rock paper scissors
Oh,
battle.
Do we have enough time in the show to do that?
How are we going to do that? You're going to have to come over here.
I am.
Yeah,
I
you're
am.
going to have to take yourself from behind the microphone.
Now is the
all right,
point-
so, for instance, let's say, what if, I throw scissors and both of y'all go paper?
So it has to be an
Does that-
elimination round, right?
No, no.
What we're gonna do is cut for just a moment, discuss these rules, and then cut back to an intense rock paper scissors battle.
Okay. So the rules of the game are going to be
Okay.
we're going to all three rock, paper, scissors, or scissors, rock, paper.
Are we jumping
or
the
paper,
shark
rock,
with this?
scissors. And if one of us throws
Something that beats the
that
other
beats
two.
the other two,
It's over.
It's over.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready to do it?
Are we ready?
Right, yeah.
So we're doing.
Okay.
Well, hold on. We're doing
One,
rock, paper, scissors,
and
shoot.
then
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
So, rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh,
my God.
look at Seth.
Yes.
And Seth wins. So
Oh.
guess who it is? It's Union County. Congratulations to the Panthers, who
The
did
team
earn
of-
their first playoff win.
Team of Destiny.
That was so anticlimactic.
I was thinking that Seth would go with The Rock, but apparently
I did too.
he went just your route and did the
Scissors won last week, so you got to give the Scissors credit.
Win again.
Wow.
And congratulations.
Scissors is undefeated.
It is. Congratulations to Union County, the WilHart Team of the Week, getting their first ever playoff win.
And now adding the WilHart Team of the Week to all of that accolade.
This has to be very special to Brian
Greatest
Allison
week
of the Panthers.
in the history of Union County football.
Gotta be. So congratulations again, and really congrats to all of the teams that we nominated, to Dawson and North Hall. You know, all three teams last week really stepping up to the plate.
All three, I thought they all really showed something. And we were looking at those brackets.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say we're not being greedy, but we were being greedy. We could see three teams in the Elite Eight next week.
Well,
I see all three AAA teams. I see Union. I see Raven. I see all 7 of our teams theoretically being able to move on.
I do too. I see it happening. I see us having 7 teams
That's
left
greedy.
after Friday. So
that's greedy.
Hey, let's hope it happens, man. Let's stretch this season out as long as we can.
But I think it's realistic.
I think it is realistic. And just a reminder to you, coming up on our airwaves this week, we will be at Jefferson. So Appleton County will roll into Jefferson at Memorial Stadium, and we will have that game for you live on AM 550. On FM 102.9, North Hall traveling down to Crisp County. We'll have that action for you live on FM 102.9. So 2 good radio games coming at you, and Jeff will be traveling up to Rabun County to cover the Wildcats in their second-round match, and I will be down at Jefferson.
Eating wings.
Enjoying Jefferson.
That's
the first
true.
time. So
I will say, you better get to the Jefferson game early, because you got the number 1 and the number 3 rushing teams in Class 3A. That game could be over in an hour.
Which works out well for me.
You don't get paid by the hour. I do. That's why I like those triple overtime games.
So there you go. So check out our Twitter page at Friday Game Night. On Friday, we'll have updates, score updates, and everything on the page, kind of in real time, as we try to update as soon as we can from the games that we're at, and, of course, games where other folks are located. Also, check out the website, WDUN.com's Friday Game Night page, as you can find our preview stories this week, our caps, our preview caps, everything there in one place for you. As we wrap things up here from the studio, for Jeff Hart and for our producer, Seth Chapman, I'm Bo Wilson. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.